Welcome to Barbara's Bulletin, the podcast where we delve into the most pressing issues of our time. I'm your host, Barbara, and I'm thrilled to have you joining me today. As we navigate the complexities of our global landscape, it's essential to stay informed and engaged. And that's exactly what we'll be doing on this show. Today, we're going to explore a topic that has been at the forefront of international diplomacy for decades: the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The quest for a two-state solution has been a long and winding road, with numerous attempts at negotiation and peace-building. But despite the challenges, many experts believe that now is the time to reinvigorate efforts towards a Palestinian state. As we examine this issue, it's crucial to approach it with nuance and balance. We'll be considering multiple perspectives, from the Israeli government's stance to the Palestinian Authority's position, as well as the roles of other key players in the region, such as the United States, Saudi Arabia, and the European Union. The article we're discussing today highlights the importance of U.S. involvement in bringing about a Palestinian state. It argues that with the current administration's support, Israel may be more willing to make concessions and work towards a two-state solution. However, it also acknowledges the significant obstacles that stand in the way, including deep-seated divisions within Palestinian politics and the complexities of Israeli domestic policy. As we weigh the pros and cons of a two-state solution, it's essential to recognize that there are no easy answers. The status quo of open-ended occupation poses significant risks for both Israelis and Palestinians, from the perpetuation of terrorism to the erosion of Israel's democratic values. On the other hand, a one-state solution could threaten Israel's Jewish character and democratic rule. So, what can be done to break this impasse? How can the international community support efforts towards a Palestinian state, and what role should the U.S. play in this process? These are just some of the questions we'll be exploring on today's show. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're glad you're still with us as we dive into our middle segment, where we explore the world of international trade and economics. Today, we're looking at the complex web of relationships between some of the world's largest economies, including China, India, Russia, and the United States. As we've been following the news, it's clear that global trade is becoming increasingly complicated, with tariffs, sanctions, and diplomatic tensions all playing a role. Let's take a closer look at the numbers. According to recent data, China is the world's largest exporter, with the U.S. being its biggest buyer, accounting for over 12% of China's total exports. But Asia is also a major destination for Chinese goods, with India alone receiving over $120 billion worth of exports. Meanwhile, India's largest export market is the U.S., with the country buying over $81 billion worth of Indian goods, primarily medications and pharmaceutical products. However, India has also been under pressure from the U.S. over its purchase of discounted Russian crude oil, which has led to tariffs being imposed on Indian imports. Russia, on the other hand, has seen its trade relationships shift significantly since the invasion of Ukraine. China is now its largest trading partner, accounting for over a third of Russia's exports, followed by India and Turkey. The majority of Russia's exports to these countries are energy products, including oil and natural gas. It's worth noting that both India and Russia had been able to take advantage of discounted energy prices from each other, which has helped to boost their trade relationships. However, this has also led to tensions with other countries, particularly the U.S., which has imposed sanctions on Russia and tariffs on Indian imports. As we can see, the world of international trade is complex and multifaceted, with many different players and interests at stake. It's essential to approach these issues with a nuanced understanding of the various perspectives involved, and to avoid taking sides or promoting biased agendas. That's all for this segment of Barbara's Bulletin. We hope you found this analysis informative and helpful in understanding the intricacies of global trade. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. As we wrap up today's show, I'd like to bring your attention to some pressing international news that's been making headlines lately. We've seen a significant escalation in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, with recent reports of large-scale aerial assaults on Ukrainian territory. The attacks have resulted in power outages, damage to civilian infrastructure, and injuries to several people. This development comes as Russian President Vladimir Putin visits China, sparking concerns about the potential for further destabilization in the region. In related news, the UK has imposed new sanctions on Russia, targeting its financial, aviation, military, and energy sectors. The move is part of a broader effort by Western nations to pressure Moscow into changing its behavior in Ukraine. Meanwhile, the International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for President Putin and other high-ranking Russian officials over allegations of forced deportations of Ukrainian children. It's also worth noting that Russia has been accused of forcibly taking children from Ukraine, which Moscow denies, claiming it's moving them to safety. The situation remains complex and contentious, with both sides presenting different narratives. In another development, a Russian drone attack on the northern Ukrainian city of Chernihiv left 30,000 people without electricity. The incident highlights the ongoing humanitarian challenges faced by civilians in the conflict zone. As we strive to provide balanced coverage of this issue, it's essential to acknowledge the diverse perspectives and complexities involved. We'll continue to monitor the situation and bring you updates as more information becomes available. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay engaged. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay engaged.